And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Now, Nitwit got a lot of buzz when this was announced. Why did it get a lot of buzz? It's a party game. Party games don't usually get a lot of buzz, but it's because it's designed by Matt Leacock. And Matt Leacock is one of the co-designers of the hottest game out right now, which is Pandemic Legacy, and of course the designer of Pandemic. Now, this is a party-style game, though, although the original plastic wrap that I got said, from the maker of Pandemic. But if you like Pandemic, that's fine. Put that out of your head, because I don't really think that has anything to do with whether you like Nitwit or not. If you like Nitwit or not is more on, do you like party games? Do you like categories, which has a little bit in common? Do you like thinking, arguing games? Well, let's see how it plays first, and we'll come back, and I'll tell you what I thought of it. There's going to be a number of spools and threads with clothespins on, and this number is determined by the number of players in the game. So for example, if you have 4 players, each player will get 2 of each. If you have 6 players, each player will get 1 of each, etc. So, starting with each player, one person is going to go first, and that person takes one of these and puts it on the table around a spool if possible. There is no spool at first, so you're just going to place it on the table somewhere. So in this instance, I'm just going to place it like this. You then will draw a word thing from this box here. So for example, the word here is lame. All right, so I put that there, and it's lame. And then I'm going to put the spool somewhere in that thread. So you can see that the next clothespin and thread has to go around it. So maybe I'll do something like this. And now the word for this one here is intangible. Then the next person is going to put, then I'll put that, so let's say I'll put that here. Then the next person does something like maybe this. And the word for the white thread is old. And then they put out one, so maybe they put one here. And then the next person is going to do something like this. And the word for that one is useful. And then they put one out. And this is going to continue as players are going to be putting out these threads. And so you're kind of making like a Venn diagram to some degree. And the red one here is bitter. And then they put this one here. So once all these are put out, each player then is given a sheet. And in a kind of a, I guess it's a cool thing that these are made to look like blackboards. The sheets are black and the pencils are white. So when you write, it shows up like chalk. And then each person is going to make a word that fits the category of where that clothespin is. So for example, number 1 here is inside the yellow, purple, and blue loops. So you need to think of something that is lame, tangible, and useful. I don't even know something that's lame, tangible, and useful. I don't know how something can be lame and useful, but I might be thinking of that. Number 2 is in the blue and the white loops only. So something that is lame and old. And so I might say a one-eyed dog. Or a three-legged dog, I guess. So it's an old, lame dog. I'm not really sure there. Number 3, you can see, is in the yellow and the blue loops. So it's lame and useful. Again, that's kind of a hard one to pick. Number 4 is in the yellow and red loops. So it's useful and bitter. So maybe I would write vanilla, because vanilla is a useful thing when baking, but it's also very bitter. Number 5 is in the red and the purple loops here, I believe. So that would be bitter and tangible. Something that's bitter and tangible. And so each player is going to write their answers down. Now, when you're done writing your answer, you're going to grab the top button from a pile of buttons. The number of buttons here is going to be based on the number of players. So if you're playing with a full complement, you'll have all the buttons. And the number of holes in the button that you grab is how many bonus points you're going to get. Each player is then going to reveal the different things that they wrote down for each of the numbers. If you wrote down the same thing as someone else, they're both crossed off. If you wrote something unique, you will get points equal to the number of loops around it. So number 1 here, for example, is in the yellow, purple, and blue loop. So this one's worth 3 points. This one is worth 2. This one here is only worth 2. I mean, it's possible that there's something only in one loop, like there's something old. Well, that would only be worth 1 point. If people do not think your answer fits the category or doesn't work, there can be a voting on it and a majority thumbs up or thumbs down. If your answer is voted thumbs down, you get no points for it. You will add the points for each of your words, plus the points for the button that you took, and the most points is the winner of the game.
Nitwit is a decent party game, but there's some things we need to talk about. The production value is great. Those spools look really cool. The threads with the clothespins, even though they're kind of a pain to tie and put together. And they do kind of get tangled in the box every once in a while, but they look great, right? And they're fun as you get to put them out there. And even though it doesn't matter that much how you place them out with the Venn diagram where things cross, it's still cool. It gives you this feeling like, ooh, I'm not so keen on the cards. I guess they mean something sewing-wise. I don't know what. But they work. It just, I wish they looked better. But everything fits in this box, which comes in this slipcover, which... slipcover, you don't even need that really. The box then is one of those magnetic boxes, and it has this pocket here. I'm not sure what's supposed to go in that pocket, maybe the rules, but everything fits inside this box. So the production's fine. The gameplay itself, first of all, I was really shocked how short the game is. I mean, the game is that one, when I was reading through the rules, I was like, oh, I thought that was one round. You can actually see us, if you look at the live playthroughs that we did with Richard Ham, Rado runs through, we actually played Nitwit there, and I was just surprised how fast the game was. It was boom, boom, boom. Now, I mean, you can make it longer. You can say, we'll add up our points after we play 3 or 4 times and put those together. You certainly can do that, but I was just, again, I was kind of surprised at how quick it is, which could be a good or bad thing. No, I guess there's no bad about it. It's good. It's quick. And if you want to play longer, you can. Now, as for the game itself, somewhat similar to categories, except you have different things. You need to think of something that's blue, and that's old, and that's lame, okay? Well, and so there's that whole thinking while everyone else is thinking, a slight bit of a speed element as people grab those buttons. But for the most part, that part's fine. And that's in other party games. The whole crossing out the same answer someone else wrote is fine. What keeps this game from being a great party game for me is the arguing. Now, I like arguing. I love it. Our show is based on arguing in our top 10s. But I'm not always keen to argue over every single thing. And because you cross off the same answers as other people, you are encouraged, even by the rules here, to write really kind of weird answers. Something that's old and blue. I might be like, my old pair of blue jeans that I have. Okay, that kind of works. But if I'm like, well, there was this old dishwasher, and someone will say, dishwashers aren't blue, and then there's a big, long discussion about that. Now, the game says you say nitwit to the person, and then they have 10 seconds to defend themselves, and then other people talk. And so I guess they're kind of trying to contain themselves, but it's very capricious. Some people are going to hate that, and so I want to warn you about that, because some people won't like that aspect. And some people are going to try to break that. You're going to play with people who will write down really ridiculous, weird answers for each one, hoping that people will be like, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess there is something that is green and furry. And yeah, that stuffed animal that you had, I guess it was green and furry. And so if they can think of these weird things, they can kind of game the system. So the game is what I would call slightly fragile, because it's possible that a player who's just kind of trying to win at all costs, those people shouldn't be playing party games to begin with, but there's that involved. Other than that, it's fine. I think the components and the threads and all looks cool. It doesn't seem to bring anything like, wow, this is new and unique. It's not. It's just a decent party game. I wonder if it will be forgettable. I know it's going to sell because of Matt's name. It's going to sell because it looks cool and has that sewing theme, which I'm all for. I mean, that's pretty neat. But once you get to the gameplay itself, it's kind of like a categories variant. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
Shut the door!